Hello, my friends. This is Income School, and my name's Ricky. And today we are talking about fandom, which essentially, in business terms, is brand recognition and trust. I'm going to help you learn exactly how you can build real fandom, and you can start doing it just today. Now, first things first, you might look at me and say, Ricky, what the heck do you know about fandom? And I'll tell you what I know about fandom. Over the years on this channel, we have grown multiple times, over and over and over again. It's always kind of a different group of people as time passes, but we have developed dedicated fan bases over the years. And we've done it through numerous means. And we're gonna talk about some of the specific ways we've been able to do that and how you can incorporate those for yourself in your own way for your own audience. Fandom equals branding, but it also equals loyalty, which is why there are people who will watch this video and stick with me as we pivot the channel and start talking about broader things. Because we've been doing a heck of a lot more than just blogging here at Income School. And they're sticking with us, why? Because of these things that we're doing. So let's dig in. Step one to building a real fan base is we have to give people a strong reason to trust you. Now, there's a lot of things that go into trust, right? It is a long, difficult road to build trust with people, but it's a really easy road to break that trust. So if you really want to build trust in your brand, you have to be very careful to not break that trust, which means giving people authentically things that are real. Now, you might think on YouTube, people are often wishy-washy. I see this all the time. It actually drives me nuts because it works for some channels and it works for a long time, where they may talk about one thing in a video one week and then the next week it's like they completely contradict themselves, but it doesn't matter because both were clickbaity enough that they got a whole bunch of views. That might work for the algorithm, but it doesn't work for building a loyal fan base. And I think you're smart enough to see through that. So how do we do it? Again, we need to tell the truth. We need to be authentic. That doesn't mean that your experience, your opinions, those things, they can't change as you grow and develop. That's all great. But you need to be consistent. So that's how to not lose that trust, but how do we build it in the first place? Well, you can start by having real experience in whatever the topic is, and then showcasing that experience. Showing more than telling is incredibly valuable, which is why in this video, I'm gonna share lots of specific examples of how we have done the things I'm talking about over many years. But let's say you don't have a ton of experience yet, but you're pretty sure that the things you're saying are gonna be helpful to people. Great. Well, before you have a lot of experience, you can start with confidence. When you look and you seem confident in what you're saying, the trust that people have in you is substantially greater. Now, what does confidence look like in a blog post? Yes, I'm mentioning a blog post. You know why? Because blog content still has a lot of value in digital marketing. But blogging on its own is not a strategy that I'm going to recommend. We'll keep talking about that because I think that's really important. In a blog post, confidence looks a lot like it looks like in a video. It's using language that sounds sure. It's not being wishy-washy. This is actually something that I struggle with. This is me getting just a little bit vulnerable here. I struggle with showing a lot of confidence, mostly because I'm somebody that likes to give people a well-rounded view of any situation. So my tendency is I will teach something, I will share, this is what I think you should do, but there are always situations where you might want to do differently, and then I'll start explaining those things. I would do a lot better if I just projected more confidence by telling you, most of you should do this thing, because that's the thing that I've seen work. Be confident, not arrogant, but confident in what you're saying and what you're talking about in all of your marketing, and that's going to do a lot to build that trust. Another thing you can do as you're building experience is to do testing. If you can show that one thing works better than another because you actually tested it out, that builds a lot of confidence. So all of that really comes back to experience and showing confidence in the experience that you have. Now that people have a reason to trust you, now we have to give them a reason to like you. We do this by matching the style of our presentation, the style of our videos, to the audience that we're trying to attract. Now, most of you watching this video are probably B2C businesses. You may not realize it. You're just like, oh, I'm just making content. I'm a blogger. Yeah. Who is reading your blog post? For most of you, it's consumers. It's normal people who are asking questions. Who's watching your videos? Normal people who are trying to learn something or who want to be entertained by you, depending on what type of channel you have. In those cases, a very personable and non-corporate looking setting is going to be better than something that feels very corporate, very scripted. Authenticity is key there. Now, if you're targeting a B2B audience, you're a business and you're trying to attract other businesses, well, now depending on what type of businesses those are that you're trying to attract, you're going to need to have the style of your content fit what their expectations are. Now, let me tell you, here, we're trying to project that we have experience, we know what we're talking about, we use decent lighting and stuff, because one of the things we teach is how to make videos. So if I made videos that just looked super cheap, it would be hard for people to trust that I know what I'm talking about. So my channel and other channels like me, we do this sort of a thing. We have decent lighting, we have color behind us, we have stuff behind us that just is interesting. Now, I like to showcase some things that show my personality. There's a lot here that you might not be able to tell what it is, but like this here, this is cool. This is a Tonka truck that was at my grandparents' house my whole life as a kid. This metal Tonka truck was there. And then when they moved out of their home, when my grandpa passed away, I took that on. And to me, that's a nostalgic thing. It's something about my childhood, and it's showcasing that like I'm into original, like lasting things. Toys today that last like a month and then they break. I hate that. I'm about authentic, original, like long-lasting stuff. That's me. It's kind of a mix of somewhat professional things, but also a lot of kind of personal things. That's the feeling that I'm going for. So that's what my decor is, but it's also the tone that I try to take in my videos with you. Make your style, every aspect of your style, as well as your choice of social media platforms, match the audience you're trying to attract. Again, if you're in a business-to-business space, you're trying to get businesses to notice you, or maybe you're in a C2B space, you're like a consumer that's trying to get hired on by a business, I don't know, whatever you are. You should probably be using LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a powerful platform today. You should be posting content directly there. Post your videos directly there. Literally write whole blog posts on LinkedIn, not just linking to your website. Put a post or at least a summary of your post right there on LinkedIn, and then maybe link over to your website so that you can direct some of that traffic over there. But use that to build your brand, your credibility. That's the right thing to do. Use the right platforms where your audience is most active. Now, I mentioned a website. If you have a website, which I believe most of you should have a website, no matter what platforms you're choosing to use, you should have a website. It is a location that can be yours. You own it. It can be your hub, and it's where you can put the very best resources you create. That website should have an appropriate feel for the audience that you're trying to most relate to. If you're trying to come across as really friendly, even if you're a business, but you're trying to come across as friendly, a cold, really corporate looking website, probably not the right call. Now, speaking of your website, this video today is being brought to you by Cloudways. I don't use any other hosting provider for any of my websites or my clients' websites but Cloudways. In fact, I currently have over 40 websites that I'm hosting through Cloudways. The value I get there, the really professional website hosting that I get there is incredible for the cost. I mean, we're talking unlimited websites, easy scaling if I ever need to increase the capacity of my server, or if I need to add a new server because I'm adding a bunch of new websites for clients. I can do all of that in minutes, and I can do it without tripling my cost like I've seen actually on some of the other hosting providers I've worked with over the years. I get top-notch security at a fraction of what would cost even for security plugins that don't even work as well as the security I get on Cloudways. I get free daily backups, I get free migrations, and that list goes on and on. Now, if you use the link that I've pinned in the comment below, you're gonna get the best deal that they have, including a discount on your first few months of hosting, as well as free migrations. So if your website is hosted elsewhere and you look at the renewal cost of your hosting and say, oh my gosh, they really got me with an introductory deal and now it's gonna be a fortune to renew, which we also see all the time, you can go migrate your websites for free. They'll even help you with it. So go check out Cloudways using the link below. All right, step 3, lean into your strengths. When you're gonna create content, whether it's, again, written content, social media content, video content, you need to use a persona that's going to relate well to the audience you're trying to attract. What does that mean? It means we're all fake. No, it means we need to present ourselves in a way that's going to resonate well with the audience we're trying to attract. The easiest persona to use is, well, you, of course, trying to emphasize the strengths that will best resonate with that audience, and sometimes even your personal weaknesses, flaws, and vulnerabilities that will also relate the best with your intended audience. Authenticity is key, especially on YouTube. So building your persona around who you really are, that's gonna make it really easy. Now, we'll talk about that for a moment. I'm a total nerd. Stats and analytics, that is my jam. I have my background, like I mentioned earlier, is in chemical engineering. In business school, where I did an MBA, there's me sharing my experience. That's why you should trust me. I know all about marketing. Okay, in business school, I thrived in the quantitative classes, right? Stats, finance, corporate finance, even real estate investing, all that stuff. That was what I was really good at. So at income school, from the very beginning, I have been the kind of dorky analytics guy. That's who I really am, and I didn't try to put that on as a persona, but it actually fits so well with my founding partner, Jim, and his persona. He's a very, very charismatic and confident person, but we'll just say that like numbers aren't his personal strong suit. I'm also a dad, and I totally have a dad joke sense of humor, if you haven't caught on to that yet. In videos, we would start them often with little skits that would kind of highlight different aspects of our personality, even though the skits were totally contrived. I don't do those more because most of my videos I film by myself, and skits by myself, they make me feel kind of lonely. Anyway, we did this to the extent that like if there was a stunt that was gonna happen, it was always me. Seriously, from sliding in a pool of Thai curry to climbing onto the tiny peak of this cliff overlooking a ghost town to falling through Jim's deck to the ground floor below. I've always kind of been like the fat guy that does the silly stuff, but it was endearing, it was comical, and I think it just built some connection with a lot of the audience. All of this led to an early and strongly dedicated fan base, an audience of engaged fans that allowed us to launch Project 24 to an audience of, we only had between 12 and 13,000 subscribers on our YouTube channel, and really no other social media to speak of. And yet we did $100,000 in sales in the first month. That allowed me to leave my day job and start doing this full time. That is what engagement can do for you. All right, number 4, this is gonna be value packed. Number 4, take a position on things. Take a confident position. Controversy invites comments. Some people will agree with your stance on issues, and they'll maybe let you know in the comments. Other people will disagree about your stance, and they will definitely let you know in the comments. Now, what I'm not saying to do is to purposely create or contrive controversy just for the sake of controversy. I don't think that's great. But if you take a genuine stance on a particular topic, that's great, that's authentic, but also it invites that engagement, right? A few guidelines for dealing with this kind of content. Number 1, don't be afraid of disagreement. Now, a couple of little tips to help you deal with the engagement and the fallout that you're gonna get from taking a stance on things. The first one, do not be intimidated by that disagreement. Now, next tip, you should definitely moderate your comments. If someone is being hateful and is steering your community, and really like no matter what social media platform you're on, the comment section, that is a community of people. That's your community. You should moderate that. And if somebody is hijacking that community for their own purposes and harming you or others in your community, even verbally, you should moderate that. That's totally fine. You can disagree, and that's great, but don't be a jerk about it. You can treat your own community the same way. You set the tone for that community, set it to be whatever you want, but again, invite disagreement. When people disagree with you, it will invite discussion from other people. Somebody will comment saying, I disagree, cool. Then somebody else will say, yeah, but you missed this point. And they'll go back and forth and back and forth. That's all engagement. And engagement feeds all of the social media algorithms. Now, the third tip here is to make sure that that engagement is driving toward the goal you want. Not all engagement is good engagement. People will say, hey, all PR is good PR, even if it's bad, right? Because it gets you known, it strengthens your brand or whatever. No, it increases brand awareness, but that's not necessarily strengthening your brand. You can have huge amounts of engagement, but if your goal is to sell somebody a product or a service, or even just get them to like and trust you, if the engagement you're getting is not leading toward those goals, it's not good engagement, and you should steer your engagement elsewhere. So now you know a lot of different ways to build engagement, but it's not gonna be enough to get your videos to really spread, because there's another factor that causes more spread of videos on YouTube than anything else I've ever seen. That leads me to tip number 5. That is that when people come to your content, again, whether it's written content on your blog, a YouTube video, or any other social media post, give people what they came for early. Then also delight them, give them even more. But it's not just about delighting them. It's every time you answer the question that they had when they came to the video. There was some question, there's some reason they wanted to see the video. And then you answer that question. Don't bury the lead and save it for the end. Nobody likes that, right? In fact, they might get annoyed and just leave, thinking you'll probably never answer the question, because a lot of content creators never actually do. Answer their question early. But when you answer the question that they have, make sure you replace it with a new question that makes them want to keep watching. If you paid attention, you may notice that I did that at the end of step 4. Maybe go back and rewatch that. People will watch more of your content or read longer on your article, both of which mean more income from ads, but also more time spent with you and more trust built. And they'll do that if and only if you keep them having questions and you keep promising the next answer. Now I'm gonna say this and I wanna say it very clearly. On YouTube at very least, watch time tends to be the strongest indicator of which videos are gonna continue to be spread by YouTube. You can have a video that a very small percentage of the people watching it actually click on. But if the people that click on it are watching it for a really long time, YouTube will experiment like crazy with that video to get it in front of more and more and more and more people that it thinks might be interested. But if people leave your video quickly, YouTube will give up on that video pretty dang quickly. Even if you have a great thumbnail, a great title, and everybody's clicking on it. So now you know the secret to engagement and fandom. Keep people watching by keeping them asking more questions. You know all the answers now, but no, actually, there's more. In fact, there's a ton more to having success in digital marketing, which that's what we're all about here at Income School. That's why if you haven't yet, you need to check out Project 24. Yes, in Project 24, we teach a blogging system, but that is a tiny piece of what we're doing and what we're talking about and what we're teaching in Project 24. In fact, very recently, we had a great discussion in a mastermind with a member of Project 24 who has successfully not lost traffic at all this year. Through all the helpful content stuff and all of like the March apocalypse updates, what I'm calling it, none of that, he hasn't lost traffic. And in fact, the average number of page views per visit on his website is almost 5. That is insane. If you don't know why that's insane, but you have a website, go look at your Google Analytics at your own views per visit, page views per visit. I can almost guarantee you the average number on your website is between 1 and 1.5. 5 is ridiculous. His engagement is nuts, and he completely shared exactly how he's doing it in this mastermind discussion in Project 24. We've talked about it further in the podcast. It's something I'm gonna be making a new lesson on here in the near future. That's the kind of stuff we're doing in Project 24. Now, is that enough FOMO for you? All right, so now you go create something that people actually wanna engage with. That's how you're gonna build a real brand. And I invite you to go check out this video, and we'll see you over there.